Well, ladies, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, thank you, Luann. This is Leigh. We're so excited to be
This is
here.
Aly. Thank you so much for having us. We're really excited for this conversation.
I am too. I have to tell you, I have to give a shout out to my bestie, Kate O'Hara from O'Hara Interiors. She said to me, Lou, have you not have pure salt on the show yet? I'm like, I don't know. How did I not do that? Like, let's do that. Let's fix that. So super excited to have you guys here today. I I know from reading about you that you guys were best friends first, um,
Yeah.
and then went into business together. So, who wants to share a little bit about that story? How you became friends? I don't know if this friends from kindergarten or where friends from, and then I want to know a little about each of your background before going into business together.
Yeah. So this is Leigh. Aly and I were blessed to be randomly assigned as roommates at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. So freshman year, going in blind, not knowing anyone, and here's Aly, my roommate. So we shared a dorm together and became truly instant best friends. We've always had like a shared creative passion. We, obviously designed the heck out of that dorm room, but like continued to live with each other over the years. And designed, redesigned rooms. I think one year we even painted a room like a lime green. I don't know if we really stand behind that now, but it's a real thing. um, but yeah, that's how we met, and we always dreamed about building a business together. We went through college, graduated. At the time we both went and started separate careers in different areas, and then 10 years after that, decided to come back together and start Pure Salt. So it's been quite the journey, but an exciting journey for both of us.
Wow. And were you like, in other words, you land together in college? Were you from different states? Like, there's no way you would have crossed
Oh,
paths if
no,
it
no.
wasn't for college. Like, where are you
Yeah,
both
so that's
originally
that's
from?
kind of the funny part is we're like 15 minutes away from each other. So we went to high school, one of us in Santa Margarita and one of us in San Clemente, and that's very close. And we actually had overlapping friends. And so when Leigh got her notice that I was her roommate, she asked some of those friends like, "Hey, do you know who Allison Lodge is?" Which is not how my name is pronounced. And they're like, "Allison Logie, Aly Logie, yeah, like, that's she. We're like great friends with her. What do you mean? Like, let's get together. Let's have a party." Um, and so we ended up meeting at a party with friends that we both knew to like get us together. And so it was pretty crazy that we grew up right next to each other and had no idea who we were.
You don't even know if that's more serendipitous than somebody who was born in New York
Yeah,
and somebody who was born in New Orleans, right? It's like, and ended up at a college in California together,
pretty
but to be
crazy.
15 minutes apart, right?
Yeah.
But that is pretty crazy. That's awesome. And so, for the first stages of each of your careers, what did each of you do before you came into business together? So, Leigh, what did you do?
Yeah, so I started my career in advertising actually, and worked on a ton of different brands. The latest one was for about 6 years. I worked on Target, did a bunch of marketing specifically for their exclusive artist section. So basically, Target partnered with different musical artists, and we would come up with really cool ad campaigns to celebrate these artists and offer something different at Target, because Target was the only one still selling CDs. So it was definitely a great career. I loved it. It had me traveling all around the world. I got to work with some amazing creative people, but it was when I had my daughter, and the job took me away from her, and just my schedule was really crazy. It just felt like the right time to really pursue something that I was truly passionate about, that gave me a little bit more flexibility. And just dive into something.
Interesting. That's so interesting. We talk about the Eric Award transferable skills.
Mhm.
So there's a dozen there. So that's cool. And Aly, what about you? What was your experience before
Yeah, so
joining Leigh
first of
in
all, what
Pure
I love
Salt?
about the two of us is Leigh went big business and corporate, and I went super small business and entrepreneurial route. So I actually came out of college, and my big goal was to open a flower shop and do weddings and events. And so I actually did that like about a year after I graduated, maybe 2 years, and opened a local flower store. It was actually like a pretty crazy time. I opened it like 3 months before the crash of 2008. So ran into a big
Mm.
challenge immediately. Um, but that pushed us into a completely different zone of really pursuing weddings and events. I moved into a home studio, and it was booming. It was crazy. We were doing multiple weddings a weekend. And I mean, the work was hard. It was a lot of manual labor, but like a lot of marketing and business, and so many lessons learned from that venture. I ended up kind of in the same boat as Leigh. I was pregnant with my second baby girl and just kind of hit a wall. I couldn't work weekends and weeks anymore. I couldn't deal with one more bride. I was pretty much at my max, and I actually sold that business. And then went into a year of kind of reinventing myself, and that's where Pure Salt came up with Leigh and I, and then the rest is history.
That's awesome. And so again, like I said, the Eric Award transferable skills. I mean, here you have Leigh with that big corporate background, marketing, the relationships with the big brands and all of that. And then, not only the small business operational experience, but also, I have a chairman of the board, Alex, who was a very high-end event planner and parlayed that into interior design. And she just is like, Lou, I got to tell you, pulling together a 15,000 square foot house over a couple of months is just not nearly as difficult as pulling together a $2 million wedding on a day. You know what I mean? Like it's like, there's no like, hey, the truck didn't come. It'll be here tomorrow with your drapes. It's like,
sure.
So there you are, boots on the ground, managing high-end projects that have to be delivered at a particular time. And that is so relatable and transferable to working with a design project.
I think the other thing too is like the intimacy that you have like with clients in weddings and events. Like you're working with them on their most important day. And then like I feel like we just moved into this new chapter of people's lives where you're working with them on their most important space. And so that part I found like a really easy thing to transition to, and just like that's the secret sauce too, is just like knowing how to work closely with people.
Yes. Yeah. She found the same thing. It was like when you pull off a major event like a wedding for somebody, and then they then buy the house, that you've got that built-in trust factor, right? And if you've really done it at a luxury level, they understand that you can transfer that. So she's finding the same thing as a nice transition for her. Yeah, I should connect you guys.
I actually have a couple of past brides that became clients at Pure Salt.
Yeah. And so before we get to the heart of what we're going to talk about today, which I'm like, like a horse in this thing trying to get out of the gate doing it because I really want to have the conversation. I just have to say, where does Pure Salt come from? Like, what is that name? Where does that's not just this random, like, let's just call it this.
Pure Salt was very much like something that Aly and I thought was super important from the very beginning. Like being two kind of Southern California natives, always having this kind of shared creative passion, this shared vibe, really the shared aesthetic. When we started Pure Salt, we were like, and at that point didn't fully have the name, but when we started it, it was like, we really want to stand for this look and this vision of what we believe a comfortable home really looks like. And so the pure comes from, for us, we like to keep things clean, pure, functional, like leaning into like really the function of a space, and removing the clutter. And then the salt is all about bringing in those natural elements, from bringing like the outdoors in. So within our designs, you'll see a lot of like neutrals and naturals and textures and plants, and really adding that layer to every house that we do is part of who we are. So again, Pure Salt was from very, very much from the beginning. It wasn't about Leigh, the interior designer, Aly, the interior designer. It was about building this brand and creating these spaces that truly were a reflection of our ethos, which is Pure Salt.
And there's all that marketing experience right there, right?
Exactly. That's why I let her lead that question.
Yeah, we just to pick a name, throw it at the dart, and say, "Oh yeah, that sounds good." Because isn't that's the heart of marketing, Leigh? Right? Is that you can tell a story about whatever it is in your brand that you're trying to express, right? It isn't just like, well, Lou, we looked at the Morton salt container one day and we thought, salt like the beach in California, and we're pure as a driven snow, so why not?
Yes, 100%. Exactly.
I love it. All right. Okay. Here we go. Here's, every once in a while, you guys guys listen to this show. You told me that you did, and you do, and I appreciate that. But then every once in a while, I have to read the line that you write on the intake form because it's a have me at hello line. Like I'm like reading the intake, the pitch, and I'm like, stir right there. Just click accept pitch, move on, right? So here it was, and there was a lot of good stuff there, but this was the sentence that I loved. It says, we have developed a pillar of our business that solely seeks opportunities for partnership on a grand scale. You see, every word in that sentence, I'm just like, yes. Not like, we work to get partnerships. It's like, no, we have a pillar of our business specifically developed to do this on a grand scale. Like, I just love this. I love the intentionality of it. I love, the thought and all of that. And so now I want to pick it apart. So now like 20 minutes ago, I was like, wonder why. Now I'm sort of already getting the why. Okay. Okay, a little experience here working with big brands and reaching out to collaborations with other people. So I'm kind of getting the why. And of course, I think anybody that listens to the show and they saw the teaser that was the content, we all have that why, right? We all kind of like, oh, yeah, I want to work with big brands, right? But like, what does that look like when you develop a pillar of your, and I shouldn't assume I know the why. Tell me the why first. And you know what? Let me not make assumptions.
Yeah. Al, you cool if I kick this one off too? Okay, yeah. And then I'll stop talking because sometimes I like to talk too much. No, but I think ultimately the why at its core is one of our core values is truly partnership. So when we started the business, obviously we are best friends and business partners. So at the core of who we are, we started just the two of us, and partnership was at its key. Because in creativity, we have always said that like collaboration is such a key part of it, and that two minds are better than one, three are even better than two. So with everything that we've done, with every process that we put in place, whether it's design or licensing or our e-com business, it's all about collaboration and it's all about partnership. Our design team is made up of the two of us, but then we work with a team. It's not just Leigh taking this client through the process. It's a group of people, and that's very much true to who we are. And so when we continue to elevate and grow the brand and really try to carve out this niche that was a reflection of Pure Salt, we know and we knew that collaborating, partnering with the experts in the space, whether it be, the licensees that we work with that are manufacturers that create rugs, like partner with them to create things that we can't find, that we can't do, again, just to continue to elevate and create this brand and this aesthetic that we truly believe in. So the why really is because we truly believe in partnership, we truly believe in collaboration, and then that just is something that filters through every different aspect of our business and what we do.
I'll add too to that. I think the other part of that, which kind of goes hand in hand, is relationships. Like one of our other like core values is relationships, and I think that when I look back on all of the license deals that we've had so far, our first one really started with developing relationships with the vendor, and not seeking after a licensing partnership like immediately, but really like working to know what they do and like who they are. And it was just a very natural and effortless start to like venture into this space. And I think that's part of the success of our licensing deals.
It's interesting because I guess by the time this airs, it's probably the show's probably out about a month. But for the 8th birthday of the podcast, I did a special 2-part episode as a tribute to Kravit. The first partner that I had in the industry outside of me, Vin, and Window Works, to do this podcast. And there were so many. What we did was we featured the 16 or 18 different design firms that have collaborated and partnered with Kravit over the years. And 201, it was that it started with a relationship. There wasn't anyone that was like, hey, I just looked them up in the interior design phone book and went, oh, Kravit, let's call them. You know what I mean? And let's see what they're doing. And if they want to do something with me. And everyone expressed how it came from doing business together and from taking it to the next level. So when you say that it started from the first partnership started with the building the relationship? Was it you have an account with this place and you just put faces to names and actually got to know the people and it organically became an opportunity? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I think when we originally met, like our first licensing partner, which is Momeni, who we do rugs with, we didn't even have an account with them yet. I think it was one of our first visits to High Point. We walked into the showroom and we're looking around, and then we met the product developer, who's amazing, Katie, and then she introduced us to what we called him at the time was Mr. Momeni. And it was just kind of like a really organic moment. I was like, wow, I can't believe we're meeting Mr. Momeni in the Momeni showroom. Like this is such an honor. And I think he found that kind of funny. And like from there, like we just became friends with Katie, and it just was like a very organic relationship that we just continued on. We met them in Las Vegas at the market there, and then again in High Point, and did dinners, and it just grew.
Wow.
And it was just like a really awesome group of people.
And how many years in business were you ladies at that point?
Probably 4,
Okay.
maybe 3 even. I think maybe even just 3.
Yeah.
Okay. So not super seasoned, not super, but see, there's a difference. You're not 22 and 3 years in business. You both come from grown up careers and you come to this. So 3 years for somebody that's coming from another industry has more rounded business sense than just, and there's nothing with coming out of school and starting a business at 22. I've met a gabillion of them that have done it and that are successful. It's just that it's in, what happens is I ask the question because I want to get informed on what were those beginning conversations like. If I'm Mr. Momeni and I've had a business for 20 years, who am I talking to? Right. So
Yeah.
talking to people who have a clue. So, and that's interesting. Okay. So where do we want to go from here? You know what everybody wants to know. They want to know, how do you do it? Like, what is, so we understand the first opportunity comes organically. Is it then that you go back and you're just like, hey, this is a thing, let's do more of this? Or, and when you say you have a pillar of your business specifically designed to address that, what does that look like? Is there a person on your team that just like dials for dollars every week and starts to say, oh, you have a relationship with here, you have an account here, let's set up a coffee there? Like, what do you do?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. I think I don't think there's one thing that you do, if I'm being fully honest. I think that ultimately the thing about Aly and I, when we started the business, there's just a lot of questions and we approach everything with curiosity. So I think that we don't really know what we don't know. So, and we're really not afraid to ask questions. We also really love and enjoy getting to know people. So while we say relationships and partnerships are such a core of who we are, it also comes naturally to us. And so as you build those relationships, it gives us more comfort to ask more questions. And so with Momeni, they naturally turned it into what it was because they believed in us and they were champions of us for a long time. Like they would just continuously like keep in touch and want to know what we're doing and really love our aesthetic and love our work and follow us and share. And it was just really cool. Like they just really believed in us and through that we believed in them. But then coming off of that, other people I think would see what we were doing with them and thought it was really unique. And then they would then reach out to us. So when it comes to the licensing piece of it, it was really through, I think, starting that with the Momeni team. And then, through those launches, through those things that we've been doing with them, it's just continued to evolve into more. And so we've been lucky enough for different brands and different companies to come to us. But that being said, I think it also comes from a place of, Aly and I we're constantly have ideas. We constantly want to do stuff that hasn't been done before, create stuff that doesn't exist. I mean, there's like such an appetite for that. And we know how hard it is. I mean, there's one thing to have a vision in your head and say, I want to build a sofa that looks like that. It's another thing to partner with an upholsterer and sketch up a sofa and then work through the intricacies of it to bring it to life. Right. And so we are nothing without our partners. So whether it's licensing or just doing, exclusive lines or white label or things like that, it's just really that collaboration and that partnership. I don't know, that really is what has it's Aly and I, it's our curiosity and it's our just drive to want to try to create new things. That's really been how it's come to life.
Okay.
Mhm.
So if I go back to that beginning then with Momeni, I hear what you're saying, Lee. Basically, what you're saying is you do one thing successful here. It happens organically, or maybe you drive it if it's a different designer listening, and they're going to be the one to say, "How about?" I remember Mabley Handler did that with Cravat. They were like, "How about?" You know what I mean? But they had a multi-year relationship at that point, right? But the point is that once you've successfully done that process, now it's kind of like you know the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not only are you possibly more comfortable with maybe saying how about to somebody, but others see what you've done and they're like, how about to you, right? So then with that in mind and knowing that that's a legit path, take us back to that first opportunity then with the rugs with Momeni. So whichever one of you says how about, not even important to me at this point, honestly. But you just mentioned, Lee, like understanding that you need a rug in a room and understanding that, you know, a rug should be this, that, and the other thing is very different than like designing a line of rugs that isn't going to look like everybody else's. Like there has to be some point of view on it, because why would they invest in it with you? So talk to me about that process from, hey, do you want to do this? And what does that look like?
Yeah, so I'll take that answer. I think this is one that we were so passionate about when we started with Momeni. Is we wanted to create something that didn't exist. We wanted to create something where the construction of the rugs and the quality of the rugs was really the focus. That it wasn't like a fabricated, printed type of thing, that it was, which is not bad. It's good for a certain market, but we wanted to really have something that was special. And so we really pushed Katie and the Momeni team on the construction and just wanted to see all different kinds of things that they were able to create. So it did take a little bit longer than maybe it should have, but we were learning. We didn't know what we didn't know, so what we threw out there was maybe like a big ask, but that got us to like a really beautiful collection that we were really proud of. We wanted to be proud of it, and didn't want to just like create something to just push it out there in the market. We wanted something that we would stand behind, we would put in our own homes and our own projects, and I think we did that pretty well.
Good for you.
And I would say the only other thing I'd add to that too is you know, what we wanted to achieve also came from listening to ourselves, but also our clients. So like to Ally's point, like it took a little bit longer because like I said, like at Pure Salt, we love jute rugs. We love working with natural materials. A lot of what we hear from our clients is like, I love the look of a jute rug, but it's not soft and it hurts my feet and it's scratchy. And so our big thing was like, why can't we create a jute rug that is soft, that is nice when you put your foot on it? And so we did. So like things like
you
that.
could put a man on the moon. What's
Yeah,
the deal,
why not?
right?
Anything's possible if you put your mind to it. I keep telling my kids that. But yeah, so that was also a part of it too. It's like that combination of form and function, and listening and seeing an opportunity.
So chicken or the egg, when you are at the point where you're doing this, designing this product line, this rugs with them, did you already have a huge social following, and did you already have the e-commerce site on your website, or this was, you know, the ramp up, and this is what then, you know, oh, and let's put it on an e-commerce site on our site also. Where are we chicken and egg there?
Yeah, so I'm like, Al, do you want me to go? So Leigh here again. So we already had started to build our e-com site. So yes, we had our e-com business, and we absolutely, like, part of why we were excited about doing the collection was because we wanted to be able to offer it on our site and offer it to our clients. So that was very much a part of why we were excited to do this and to just jump right in and go for it. And that was always part of the conversation. The interesting thing, and where we got really, it was really, really cool, and it was when we were developing the rugs. Momenny introduced us to Pottery Barn. And so we had this whole slew of rugs that were all, very based on form and function, neutrals, naturals. And they got a sneak peek of the rugs, and they ultimately wanted to take half of that collection and exclusively launch it in a collaboration with us on their own. So it was like, holy moly, this amazing brand that we absolutely adore and have always loved. And when you talk about perspective and a brand that knows who they are and always really tries to stand behind it, like that was, we've always appreciated who Pottery Barn is and loved them for what they are. And so it was very exciting for us. So it was really great news and really amazing for us. But that was half the rugs. And so then the other half we got to, launch and have on our site.
And so let me understand the path to distribution here. So is it that when you ultimately, the whole collection is out, half goes to Pottery Barn, labeled under them. Are you labeled under it there too? Is it like Pure Salt for Pottery Barn?
Pure Salt for Pottery Barn, which is huge.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Hello.
Which is like, okay, that's amazing. Right?
Yeah. That's it.
We'll take that one.
It. And then the other half, and this may be different now than in the beginning, but in the beginning, the other half, did it just come to your site, or it went on Momenny's site, which was available for anybody to buy also? What was that distribution like?
Yeah, so it went onto our site, but then it also went on to other sites. So it was open to Paragold, Bloomingdale's, Lulu in Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah, a bunch of other retailers picked it up, a bunch of trade. I mean, it launched at High Point in a big way. It was that specific collection that launched at High Point, and a bunch of different retailers picked it up, which was also extremely exciting. And there's been a lot of love for all those rugs.
So this, don't mind me. I'm sure the designers already know this part, but I'm like, I don't get this part. So is it that a designer, if they wanted to order this, their only option is to order it retail through one of those partners? Or does Momenny also sell it wholesale, whatever pricing? I don't care what the structure is, but can a designer get it wholesale, that collection, through their own account at Momenny, or only through retail sources?
They can get it through their own account at Momenny.
Okay. Yeah. Just, I'm like, 80% of understanding all the ins and outs of all the brands and how they sell and how they work, but it's a lot and they all do it differently. So I'm like, how does that one work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still figuring it out too, but yeah, it is confusing.
Exactly. Now, the other question I have is, and I'm going to make an assumption here, and I could be completely wrong, but my assumption is, since it's going to retail sites like Pottery Barn, like Bloomingdale's, like these other things, that it's, forget, like, I don't mean to imply that it's not good quality. I hear that was part of your thing, but these are not then $20,000 area rugs that maybe you're going to specify in your multiple $1 million furnishings project. These are the types of rugs that the garden variety human can get, right? I mean, I saw the price points there, $1,000 or $1,400, that sort of a thing. So when you went in to do this with them, and you may say, hey, if you knew enough about Momenny, you would know that they don't service that market, that if you're there, this is the market you're serving. Or was it that you could have done, like, I'm thinking like Monogram, like you can do the Monogram, stove, or you can get like the GE stove, the same company, but completely different thing. Does Momenny have that ladder of services also, or they live in this lane where it's affordable but beautiful?
No, I think they service all levels. So like it's definitely, they have lower price point options for that market. And then they have the mid level, and then they have the higher level. And so we came in kind of low to mid range, just because we wanted to produce something, and that costed it. Oh my gosh, rewind. We wanted to produce something, but that construction was a little more expensive than maybe that lower level area. So they are pushing us to create things that are in like a lower level, a lower price point, so that it can get to that market, but they do service everything.
Okay. So it's, like, look, it's like Cravat. I can buy a $60 a yard fabric, or I can buy a $550 a yard fabric. Like, that's a completely different drape at the end of it if I need 25 yards to make a drape, right?
Yeah.
So they have the different levels, but for this project, there was an established price range that you were producing for. And so you guys are pushing for a certain level of quality, but then there is probably, I would imagine, in the process of that production, certain things were like, got to give up something, sweetie, if we're still going to make it this price point, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think also just to add, like one of the reasons we liked the idea of partnering with Momenty is because really when we look at Pure Salt, we really our goal is ultimately to establish us as a lifestyle brand. And in order to do that, like we want to be while we have our full service high end design with those clients that buy those $20,000 rugs, we have an amazing Instagram following of a wide range of people who want the Pure Salt aesthetic, but they don't or can't pay for a $20,000 rug. So we really truly want to have available a range. So even in that collection, there was a range. Like there's definitely a range even in the collection that we created of higher price point to a little bit lower price point. So we really kind of landed in the mid.
Yeah, love it. Do you guys know Bria Hamill? Do you know her personally? Isn't she great?
No,
you don't know her personally.
I'd like to.
Not personally.
Okay. We have to connect you. I remember when I interviewed Bria, it was a very similar conversation. It's like she has the things that she does in her projects, but you've got the gabillion requests on Instagram, like, where'd you get that rug? Where's this? Kind of, and you're just like, yeah, this is not like a retail source. I can't just tell you where I got that rug because you can't get it anyway, right? And so then she developed Brooke and Lou, and that is like the similar, like you said, it's your aesthetic, it's your brand, it's your look, but it is like if your garden variety human wants one, they can get one, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Right.
Love it. I love it. So tell me, what would you say were, some of the things you didn't know when you went into this, when you get the invitation? And it could be that a lesson came with a collaboration down the road, not always just with the first one, because I imagine you learned X amount of things, but I got to believe there had to be an aha doing each of these, 6 or 7 different collaborations that you've gone on to do. And I guess what I'm looking for is the little nugget or the lesson that, like I said, like somebody's sitting there and they're thinking, oh, easy peasy, I'm going to do one of these myself. And it's like, did you think about this? Right? Or this was a hard thing, or this was something that took us by surprise. Anything come to mind in this whole process of developing these different partnerships and product lines?
Like the biggest thing that comes to mind when you ask that question is, like we can come up with crazy cool ideas and like things that we will of course love, and I'm sure a lot of people would love, but then when it comes to creating, like selling them, and having them be successful, oh my gosh, sorry. Rewind. Having them be successful products on the market, there's a whole other like slew of things to consider. And so that could be like best-selling sizes. And when I say that, it could be for hardware, it could be for art, it could be for rugs. And knowing like what people are actually needing and wanting, which we don't have that knowledge. And so we rely heavily on our partners to give us that information so that these lines are actually successful. And it's not all of this work and time and energy put into something that just ends up not selling. Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing that we have learned throughout this is like we might have something too that we love so much, but it's just not our number one seller. And it kind of is a little heartbreaking because you're like, what? I love that. Like I want that out there. But then someone might say like, it's just not selling. We need to drop it, or, that type of thing. Yeah. So I think that was, definitely a learning curve for us, but we've learned a lot along the way.
Yeah, like just to add to that too, I think that really is like over time, really learning to lean into our partners, right? Like we have a subset of data based off of, our e-com business, our, 20 plus projects for our full service design. So we know that and we know what we love, but there's so much more data, information, experience that comes from our partners. And so a lot of times, like, especially in the beginning, every time we got the question of like, well, what sizes do you want and whatever, we'd answer it because we truly believed. But now a lot of our, we have a lot of questions back, like, well, tell us what you think. Let us know what you think. Like really leaning on them as the experts as well, and truly, truly partnering to make it the best that it can be.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is it has to also check the boxes of marketability and profitability.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Otherwise,
Exactly.
it's just an exercise in vanity. And of course, the brand partners aren't going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like
And it's a waste of our time too.
exactly, it is.
Yeah.
But to your point, Allie, you know, us, any one of us would probably go down that road further if we didn't recognize because you get attached emotionally to the thing you're creating, right? So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Exactly.
kind of like when your kid is like keeps going to tap dancing lessons and you're just like, the
This
teacher's
isn't
like, yeah,
working for
she
you.
really can't do it. You're like, no, she's great. She's great. Just put the song on. Try it again.
Exactly.
Look at how cute
Exactly.
she is, though. Right? Okay, so the thing is, now what I want to know is what's next? So the next collaboration, the next product development that comes along, is it, hey, that was a great experience, whether it took a year or 3 years to happen? I don't know. You might want to share it. I don't know. But is it now you two look at each other and you look at your resources and you look at your relationships and you look at what you think is missing in the marketplace, maybe that you'd love to put your stamp on it, and you knock on a door? Or does the next one also like, hey, ladies, you saw you did a great job over there. Come do a great job for us. Like, how does it happen next?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, we were embarking on a new venture for our ecom business, and Allie and I were having the hardest time designing our kids' rooms, our own kids' rooms, while also doing different clients' rooms. So we're like, we need to develop a kids line. In the midst of that was finding really great children art. And so at High Point, we had met our partners at Left Bank, and we had talked to them just about partnering with artists to like create some artwork and doing more of like a white label thing. It wasn't like going at it fully with, we want a licensing deal, but we started to just develop our own proprietary art that we could sell on our shop for little salt. And through the development of that, they're like, well, we love this art. Like, we want to sell it. Like, let's partner. And that's how it naturally evolved into what it is now, which is a huge, sans little salt. It's, we launched last year with a whole exclusive Left Bank line of mini art. So a lot of art that you can rotate around the house, bigger pieces. And then we're actually launching our round 2 at this upcoming High Point. So it's a ton of art that we just partner with them. We have all these ideas. We work with artists to create different pieces that we can sell with them.
Okay, so now it's interesting because I'm aware that Kelly Ellis had a line with Left Bank, but Kelly is also an actual artist and also I can picture her face. You guys know who she is. She's big in the industry. It's going to come to me. I can picture her face. Another woman who is also an actual artist. That's torturing me right now because you guys know how good I am at names. It's like, and I can picture Jackie Von Tobel, right? It's Jackie Von Tobel, I think her name is.
Yeah.
Also, tremendous artist, designer, all the things. And so it makes sense to me when someone who can paint the art, create the art, partners with Left Bank. So you're telling me that you guys don't paint, you don't create art. So they're both like, well, we kind of do. Okay.
Well,
He does.
but not for the line. I did not create any of the art on the line. No.
So how does that work? Like from an actual, like, what does Left Bank or the artist need you for? I guess obviously distribution with a Instagram following the size that you have and so forth. But I would think there would have to be, like you said, you work with artists. So what are you doing? You're sitting there and you're saying, make something that has, circus wheels on it for my kids' room. Like, how is that happening?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, it starts with us just coming up. Obviously, we have a point of view and a vision. So we start there. So we come up with, like, if we could create a line, here are all the pieces that we would want to see in it, from little salt to, things for our homes and our clients' homes. And then we'll put that together in a deck, and then we'll send it to them. And then the Left Bank is pretty awesome because if you go in there, there are hundreds of artists just working, just painting, creating on the spot, developing product for them. And so when we would go in, we would collaborate with them. And if there was something that we wanted to make, we would show them. And then minutes later, it would be painted and it would be on our desktop. Not ours, but their
Yeah, yeah.
desktop. And so it was truly a really like creative and collaborative process that is so fun. It's so, I think Lee and I just like thrive there.
And so when I'm on your website and I'm looking at the art that's there, is it all through Left Bank? Because you've got, watercolors, you've got all different types of art here. It's not just one kind of thing. You have photography, graphic prints, framed objects. Like, is it all through this collaboration with Left Bank, or is it multiple collaborations?
Yeah, no, there are a couple different white label products that we carry, but Left Bank itself is a smaller, grouping of that artwork.
Okay.
And it is a different media. So it is photography, it is, things on linen, it is watercolors, it is oils. And like, that's where Left Bank really came in to help us round out the collections each year, is like, this is what the collection needs to finish it off. And this is what the market loves. And this is what we'll sell. So they helped us turn our ideas into like a really beautiful, well-rounded collection of artwork.
Wow. That's amazing. Okay. So now another aspect of this is there's two other aspects that I want to ask you about before I let you guys go. One is why. Now, here's the thing. At Luann Live last October or November in Orlando, 2023, I had Bria Hamill and Cheryl Luckett on a panel talking about licensing. And, they both literally point blank said, you're not retiring on this. Like, this is not like, yay, money while I sleep money. Like, it is money while you sleep, but not enough to pay the mortgage necessarily, right? And obviously, that can change and will vary depending on the product and the distribution and the popularity and the brand and all of that. But they were both very clear that you're not leaving your day job and just necessarily able to cross over. So what is the why for you guys? Why, Momenti came to you and it seemed like a good idea, but you've gone on to do 6 or 7 other collaborations. So what is the why?
Yeah, I think honestly, that's such a great question. And it really goes back to kind of where when we started the conversation and talking about, our ultimate goal of Pure Salt and a lifestyle brand, and really trying to create this look and really help people live like a better life through the Pure Salt aesthetic. And so for us, it isn't, I would totally agree with them. Like, it's not, the hugest moneymaker. I mean, there's definitely money that comes in, and that's how you work through like the contracts and the negotiations. But really it's for I think Aly would agree with me, like, it's the combination of the ability to create things that are unique to you, and unique to your perspective and a reflection of who you are. So partnering with the right people to be able to do that. But then second is like, you're partnering with different brands. So from an awareness perspective, from a marketing perspective, it helps elevate you. It helps continue to put your point of view out there in front of more people. And also it helps you like be able to also reach in different ways other people depending on what the product is. So for us, it was very much about that. It was about being able to create things that don't exist and are unique to our point of view, but then also really about helping us continue to get our brand point of view out there, and building brand awareness around who we are, what we believe in, and why we believe in it.
Anything to add to that, Aly, or she nailed it?
I think she nailed it. Yeah, I think the creative aspect, like just creating something that doesn't exist and like coming up with really awesome ideas and like bringing them to the market is exciting and awesome. But I think she said it all.
Good. So the other aspect of it is the whole crafting the deal aspect. Once you've been through it once or twice, I imagine it gets easier to understand the lay of the land and what you could expect from it, what you cannot expect from it. But that first time, who were your advisors? I mean, was it your garden variety attorney? I feel like a regular attorney isn't necessarily going to always understand the end game. And therefore, like, I could see an outside attorney being like, you got to get at least 25% of this. And the brand looking at you like, that ain't happening. Like, what are you talking about? We're talking about 4% here. Sit down. You know what I mean? But somebody in the industry would understand. So where did you get your advice when and I get that you had trust in Katie and the team, but it's still business.
Yeah. No, I think it's crucial to really partner. I mean, there's definitely legal teams out there that specialize in licensing, in royalties, in what standard royalties are, the things that you consider, redlining contracts. So I definitely think if you're agreeing to anything, I mean, just like you do with your clients and you have them sign a very well documented agreement, it's the same thing. So I would say definitely, no matter what, always consult with a legal team. And if you don't know who to go to, I would just suggest looking up a licensing legal team who specializes in that.
Okay. And then throughout your journey in doing licensing deals with multiple partners, is there nuances like this partner wants this and you've got to sit down and the two of you talk about it again and go, well, are we willing to do that or give that? Like, is each deal also different based on each brand that you're working with?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind is just like stocking things. So, like if we're looking at stocking certain rugs for our inventory versus stocking hardware, it's a very different physical reality and conversation. And so that's something that we have to think through and discuss and ultimately determine like what is the best fit for where we're at with the business. So we don't stock the rugs, but we will stock hardware. We don't stock artware. We don't stock artwork, but we will ship it out. So I think it's like all of those different things, like just considering how the things are going to get to the end client, is all different parts of the deal.
So it's nuanced in there, and you got to pay attention to the fine print, right? Another aspect of it is that I've had conversations with folks like yourself that have done licensing deals, and there's also things that you have to bring to the table. So, whether it's like you've got to do the round of all the markets and do the panel discussions, or you have to have X amount of followers. It's kind of like somebody I was talking to recently was telling me that they had an idea for a TV show. Oh, I can think of who it was. Had an idea for a TV show, and she actually got an interview with whatever the person is, whether it's the producer. I don't know what the role is on the TV. That's the first one that takes the conversation, right? But like literally first 15 minutes, like, how many followers on Instagram, how many people on your email list? And she's like, great idea, sweetie, come on back when you've got some things to bring. Like, right? So what are some of the things that you just know from doing the several different deals are some of the boxes that we should individually look at our own business and check off before we even walk into somebody and say, hi, my hand's up?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question too. And kind of playing off of what Aly said, every different deal is different, but at the end of the day, they're going to want to work with you for a reason. So what do you bring to the table, I think, is like something that you should really, pull together a pitch deck on, like, who are you and why should they work with you? So for us, what we bring to the table, we've got an amazing media kit. So we've worked really hard for like a solid email list and a solid social following. We also have a very clear perspective. We're lucky enough. Thank you. We're lucky enough for people to understand who we are as a brand and what we represent when it comes to natural elements. And so we have a point of view and a perspective on how we would approach product. And that very much, and why they come to us, is very much how we could bring that unique perspective into their offering. So again, I think it's really important if this is something that you're really intrigued by, very interested in, I think where I would start is, get a pen and a paper and start writing down, like, what do I bring to the table, and then create that into what I would call a pitch deck. And that's going to be what helps, serve up who you are and why somebody would want to come to you.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, because it's kind of like, if you do a book through traditional publishing methods, It's not like, "Oh, thanks for writing a book. We'll work on making it a success for you." It's like, "No, no, no, no.
No.
You have a
Yeah.
lot more to do, right? You have to come to the table and do the work, right?"
Yeah, yeah, and I'll add to what Lee said. Just, I mean, there's a lot of like, so our perspective, a lot of the how we bring it to life is through photo shoots, and so there's a very physical aspect to this part of the licensing deals where we, take these products, put them into the homes that we've created, and present them the way that we present our projects. And I think that's a huge part of what we do bring to the table, in addition to everything that
Yeah.
Lee said. So there's a lot of hard work that goes into the behind the scenes of making these things successful and making them feel like us.
Well, and that brings me to my last question. That hard work. It's a lot of the background and a lot happening in the background. And I just remember the conversations I've had over the years, Robin Barron and different people that have done licensing projects, Corey Damon Jenkins, and the back and the forth. And it's the final thing is you got to run a business while you're doing all of this, and so do you have you guys have to show up to do it, but like that whole thing about getting the product into a home, to do the staging of it, to do the photographing of it and the videoing of it, like, do you have a team that is literally like, this team is on brand partnership and licensing deals, and yes, they have to find Lee and Aly and get them to show up at a certain time, but like, you swoop in, you get it all done because you're designing while they're doing this? Like, this is a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and we have an amazing team in general. But we are a small business, so like our team members all wear kind of multiple hats, just like we do. So I would say the two kind of big forces in this piece of the business are Aly and myself. But to that point, we also have an amazing, creative and marketing director, and we have an amazing merchandiser, and we use very similar processes to what we do on our jobs and on our, service jobs and with our full service clients. We use kind of a similar approach and mentality and process to also deliver some of the things that we need to deliver on this back end. But when it comes to product development, when it comes to working with the partners, like, it's Aly and I on the phone. Like, one, because we're super passionate about it. It's something that like fuels us and we love it. And it's also, so important. I mean, it does take so much time, but like, if we can't really help shape exactly what we're creating, it doesn't feel necessarily us.
That's interesting. To that point, have you ever had an opportunity and thought, after going through a couple of iterations of phone calls or idea sessions, thought not a good fit? Not, and I don't mean for necessarily negative reasons, but just not a good fit. Either you felt like that or they didn't feel like that?
Yes. I think too, we learned the hard way because in growing a business and building a business, initially we said yes to everything. It was like, yes, oh, of course we'll do that. And we'll do this. And yes, yes. And
you're just like all the rest of us. Oh, okay.
But, once we got so deep in it, I mean, then there was COVID, and that was lots of yeses and lots of growth and crazy. But I think we learned, that we needed to really evaluate and take a beat and make sure what we're saying yes to makes the most sense across the board. So we have been given opportunities. We've made hard decisions on deciding to pass. And it really is just a matter of like aligning on what our goals are, where we want to go, and making sure whatever we say yes to moving forward really aligns with those goals. So that's really, if we have parted ways or said no, it's really just because of that. It's in both of our best interest to not move forward.
Takes a lot of discipline, right?
Yeah.
Right? Because every big opportunity is a big opportunity, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but takes time and energy and resources. And, I would say I'm the hardest one. It's very hard for me to say no. Like, I'm a yes person. Like, I think anything's possible. But, we learned the hard way. Like, sometimes, if you say yes to too much, like other things, you sacrifice other things. And so it does take discipline. But I think if you have that discipline, it really helps you in the long run.
I think over the years too, the discipline just has gotten stronger. So we've learned a lot. We figured out like what will work, what doesn't work, and we're like just a little bit clearer with ourselves and our goals. So that wasn't something, like Lee said, that we had in the very beginning, but it's something that we do have to have now.
Well, and it's funny because I said I asked my last question, but this brought up another question in my mind. That could happen 10 more times, by the way.
Great.
I should never say it's the last question, actually. What do you do internally as a partnership team because if you are only checking in with each other on your goals, for yourselves individually as wives and mothers and partners and business owners, and then the goals of Pure Salt by quarter or year or decade. If you're not taking that time to check in, now when something comes along, one of you could be very like, yeah, 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 yeah. And the other one's like, yeah, but that's not where we want to go. And you're like, oh, but we didn't talk about where we want to go. Like, you don't know that I want to make a left turn up there. So what do you do? Do you have do you do quarterly retreats with the two of you? Do you do weekly, just you two meetings? Do you do year end planning? What do you do? Because I can see that you are good friends. I can feel it, is what I should say. There's love and there's respect there. It's not just a putting up with each other. That's totally clear. Okay. I'm sure you do put up with each other sometimes. You have to watch the videos because Aly just gave a face like, wait. But it takes when I'm thinking is all the years Vin and I were in business, we lived in the same house, we could be, I remember one time we were young and married, and my mom was babysitting for Valentine's weekend, and we drove from Jersey to Rhode Island. That's our company planning retreat meeting. I'm going to tell you right there, because it's 5 hours in the car and you're just like, oh, and we would dream and we would plan and we would do the things. So we didn't have to do it in a structure, but like I said, how do you guys do it so that you're clear and you're looking at each other and you've got the same vision?
So we do kind of a lot of the things that you mentioned. We do the yearly planning with our team, and then we do just quarterly planning with each other, and we'll take time away, and it will be a full business day that we will just focus on planning our calendar, planning our goals, and so that we can be aligned and take that back to the team. Also, one of the most pivotal things that we've done in the last couple of years is we've hired a business partnership coach. And so we each meet with her individually. It could be once a week, it could be once a month, just depending on, what's going on with the business in our lives. And that really helps our professional and personal growth. And then we meet together. And so we could be going through, some crazy business things that we just cannot work through on our own. And she helps us get to the end of, potentially an emotional decision or, situation or whatever it is. She's basically our mediator in bad situations, but then also in really good and awesome situations, she helps push us further. So I think she's been our secret sauce just for our partnership. But then all of the other things, we continue to do and evolve and grow with our team as well.
It's funny because it sounds like business therapy, right? It's like,
it is.
I remember Fernando Duque was on the podcast, and he is the CEO of Duke Renders. And one time he said to me, oh, Mina and I, we each go to a therapist every week, and we each go to a marriage counselor. I don't know if that's every week or every month. He goes, we go to the gym and we go to therapy. He goes, it isn't because we have problems. It's because we're always interested in staying in the same place and the same page with ourselves and our marriage, right? It's and that's what it sounds like that you guys have developed here. A place, Vinny and I probably could have used both the marriage and the business therapy, by the way, because some of those conversations were full out arguments on the highway.
Yeah. Same with us, in the early years, they would be full out arguments. Now they're not. They're good, healthy discussions. And I think sometimes we equate our partnership to a marriage. We work on it hard. This is hard work. It is not easy to be in business with your best friend. There's so many different things that come on our plate on a daily basis that are challenging things to work through as business women. But then the intricacies of sharing lives and being best friends and having families together and kids who are best friends. There's a lot of different things that we consider as, just as we work through all of the normal everyday conversations. It's just, we have to be careful in a good way to take care of it.
Yeah. It's not all Instagram happy. That's the point.
No, no, it is not.
But to your point, though, it's with intention. It can be, and it can, it can be worked out. But it does take intentionality behind it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. You guys are amazing. I had so much fun talking to both of you. This is outstanding. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having us. This is such an honor. I'm such a big fan. We love your show. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. That was so much fun. Such an honor to be on the show, and truly can't thank you enough.